The topic of today's discussion is about the cytoskeleton. And in this, we'll talk about the microfilament, intermediate filaments, microtubules. Well, this discussion is going to be very easy. What I need from you guys right now is your concentration. So let's start from the very first point, that is the cytoskeleton. What does this word or this term mean? Cytoskeleton. Very simple, split the word. Cytoskeleton. Cyto means cell, skeleton means skeleton. So in short, how would you define now cytoskeleton? It is actually the skeleton of cell. Okay, this is the very first, the very beginning, the very shortcut definition. Well, it is further divided into microtubules, intermediate filaments, and microfilaments. Microfilament is here, intermediate filament is here, then microtubules are here. Well, so now once again, if you want to write a little bit more authentic definition, what do you say? You will say that it is actually the skeleton of the cell, which is composed of microfilament, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. So when you just write this is going to be a very perfect type of definition for you guys. Well, coming towards the very first one, microfilament. What is the microfilament? Micro, the word is telling you guys something. Just concentrate the word microfilament. Micro means small, filaments are the filaments. This is actually the smallest skeleton of the divisions of the skeletal system of the cell. So we have three divisions, main three portions are there. In all the three, this is actually the very smallest one. That's why it is called as microfilament. Okay. So it is actually made up of the actin filament. If you remember the actin myosin, the actin is actually supposed to form the microfilament, and then what happens? These actin polar they arrange together, actin. They arrange together and they make a polymer of actin, and then this kind of shape is formed, which is called as a microfilament, and it is having a diameter of 7 nanometer. What is the function of this microfilament? Simple, cytokinesis, and in the cytokinesis mainly cleavage furrow is formed by the microfilaments. How, like, what is cleavage furrow? Here we have a cell. If you remember during the cell cycle, this was told to us when the cell is undergoing the division, a kind of furrow is being formed, cleavage furrow. This is called cleavage furrow. Cleavage furrow is formed here. Now this cleavage furrow is formed because of these microfilament, means these are actually helping to form the cleavage furrow, and later on what will happen, this cleavage furrow will elongate, and this cell will then further be divided into two. So in short, two cells will be formed. So it is this way that this is how the microfilament is actually helping in the cell division or cytokinesis. So what is the function of the microfilament? Very simple. It is responsible to form the cleavage furrow, and which is further responsible to divide the cell into two. Well, these are actually solid filaments, and remember, these are actually the globular proteins. The actin are actually the globular proteins. So this is in short about the microfilaments. Now let's come towards the intermediate filaments. Now these are the filaments which are intermediate, means in between the microfilament and microtubule. That's why these are called as intermediate. The word intermediate is actually telling you guys about the intermediate filaments. Intermediate means in between the microtubules and microfilament. Microfilament, microtubules. So in between these is actually the intermediate filament. Now these are the filaments that are actually made up of the keratin. Well, including that, there is actually the combination of some other proteins like man and dan. So all these proteins combined together, they make then this intermediate filament. Okay. So now this has got 10 nanometer diameter. And remember, this is called intermediate. Why? Because of its diameter, and it is having its structure a kind in between the microfilament and microtubules. How, like, see the diameter. The diameter of the intermediate filaments is 10 nanometer, whereas of the microtubule is 7, whereas of the microfilament is 7, microtubule is 24. So 10 nanometer is the diameter of the intermediate, 24 is of the microtubules, and 7 is of the microfilaments. So microfilament is very small, then we have a little bit more larger size, that is of intermediate, then we have much larger, that is of the microtubules. So this is how the intermediate filaments are actually placed in between the microfilaments and microtubules. Well, both are actually starting from the micro. Okay, microfilaments, microtubules, intermediate filaments. So intermediate is actually in between. Okay, well, this was a point that I was actually telling you guys to remember, that the diameter of the intermediate is 10. So more than 10, you are going towards the microtubules. Less than 10, you are moving towards the microfilaments. Well, what is the function of this? Well, remember guys, regarding function point of view, all these three are actually responsible to support the cell. Why? We know about this point that skeleton is actually supposed to support a system. Well, it is about the body. Our entire skeleton is actually supposed to support us. The same goes for our cells. Inside the cells, these filaments are actually supporting the cell. Okay, these all are supporting the cell, but there is a little bit difference. In what sense these are supporting the cells? Those are actually mentioned here in the lecture. So the differences are mentioned here. Well, after all, you can place all these in very simple point, that is, all these are responsible to support the cell. Well, functions, it is supporting the plasma membrane. Mainly, the intermediate filament is responsible to support the plasma membrane. And the shape is a woven rope type. You know about the rope. So if you take two ropes, here you go with the one, and here you go with the second one. So when you wove them together like this, you will get a structure. This is actually the structure of the shape of the intermediate filament. So two dimers are actually supposed to form intermediate filaments. And remember, these are supposed to be the fibrous proteins. These are not the globular proteins. Whereas microfilament and microtubules, they both are the globular proteins. Their composition is of globular protein, whereas the fibrous is actually keratin is a fibrous, and that's why these are actually the fibrous proteins. In short, fibrous proteins are supposed to synthesize intermediate filaments. Now let's come towards the microtubules. Microtubules, the name is telling you guys about something. That is, micro means small and tubules, tube. Small tubes are there. So small tube-like structures are there, which are called as microtubules. And their composition is of two types of the proteins, alpha and beta tubulin proteins, and their diameter is about 24 nanometer. Now diameter is 24 nanometer, the entire diameter is 24, and the lumen is 12. The internal space is actually 12 nanometer. Now this is the diameter, and the internal diameter is actually 12. So the external is 24, internal is 12. You can say in short like that, 12. So this is the diameter of the microtubules. Function, it is responsible to move the cell. Cellular movement is because of the microtubules. Flagella, we know about the flagellum and flagella. These are actually responsible to move the cell from one place to another place, and some of the functions are also being performed by the flagella. Well, these also play a very important role in the cell division. Regarding microfilament, I told you guys, it is responsible to do the cytokinesis. Well, this is responsible to do the separation of the chromosome. These two are the different points regarding the microfilaments and microtubules. Okay. So, well, separation of chromosome, we know about the metaphase and anaphase. When a cell is undergoing the anaphase, the chromosomes are supposed to be separated. Now, that separation is actually done by these kinds of tubules, called as microtubules. Well, again, these are the globular proteins. In short, globular proteins are actually the microfilaments, and the microtubules, these are synthesized by the globular protein. If you are going in depth, the composition is alpha beta tubulin, and here it is about the actin, whereas the intermediate is having a very major one, that is keratin. Including that, then we have keratin, melanin, and dynein. Well, so this is all about the cytoskeleton and its division. I hope you got the division and all. Well, if still you have any kind of confusion, drop that in the comment box, and don't forget telling your friends about Dr. UUT lectures.